Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's story is one that proves relationships always beat cold calls, ads, and prospecting. I am joined by Jeremy Kane, also known as the Agent Playbook from eXpRealty. Jeremy went from being a $26,000 a year teacher to building a $1 million real estate business, selling over 500 homes. And here's the kicker. He did it without spending a single dollar on advertising, cold calling, or traditional prospecting. Instead, Jeremy mastered the art of relationship-based real estate. In this interview, he's going to show you exactly how he did it, why sometimes he even tells clients not to sell, and the secrets behind building a referral-only business that created passive income in a nationwide downline of over 200 agents. So before we get started, here's how you can connect with Jeremy. All of his direct links are going to be listed below in the description. Follow him, plug into his systems, and learn how you can partner directly with him. Now, here's the cool part. It gets even better. You don't have to choose between Jeremy's approach or mine. You can actually partner with both of us, bringing Jeremy's blueprint for building relationship-based, relationship-first real estate business, and I bring the probate real estate expertise that helps agents dominate the most overlooked niche in the industry, probate real estate. So check out the links, guys. Reach out. Let's talk about how we can partner with you to build your own $1 million real estate business. Now let's go ahead and dive into this incredible interview with Jeremy King, the Agent Playbook. Hello everyone, welcome to an amazing YouTube video of agent success, and we have the infamous, the famous Jeremy Kane with eXpRealty here today to share us all about his journey in real estate, and you're gonna love to hear what he has to say. So Jeremy, for those of you people that don't know you here, would you do a small introduction on who you are and how you got here?
Absolutely. My name's Jeremy Kane, obviously. I'm a second generation realtor. In fact, I left my dad's brokerage 4 years ago for this wonderful opportunity with the Wolfpack, and haven't turned back. My dad still invites me to, you know, Thanksgiving dinner, so we're good there. I got in the business about 12 and a half years ago. I've sold about 500 homes solely through organic connection. That's kind of how it is. People are always like, "Oh, you need all this to scale, and you need, funnel this and funnel that." The truth is, you need relationships. So that's the long and short of it. We can go deeper if you want, but certainly excited to be here. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Excited for this Agent Success YouTube launch, and I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Thank you so much. So you're a second generation realtor.
Yeah.
So your dad, was anybody in real estate before him, or he was the first one and then you got into real estate after him?
It's actually crazy that you asked that because I just did a post commemorating I do have 200 agents that I partner with. And, the whole point, my 200th agent was from my dad's hometown, and I didn't recruit them or attract them. And it's Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. So it's not like it's, you know, LA or somewhere like that. And so, the whole post was about my grandparents getting gifted a house by the church and moving it. My grandfather built the foundation. They took this house, they put it on the foundation, moved it 2 or 3 blocks. My dad and his 8 siblings ended up going to school at that Catholic church for the first 8 years, and so that was where real estate started in my family. However,
Oh,
as far
wow.
as real estate agents and actually doing it as a business, yes, my dad was a bar owner. He opened a bar 2 or 3 months before I was born. Oddly enough, that didn't work out. My parents got divorced, but they're good. They were great parents. They raised me right. They co-parented well, and he got into the business and left the restaurant industry, 25 or 30 years ago. And so when I got my license, naturally, I was like, hey, Dad, I was leaving teaching. I realized that I wasn't going to save the world that way. So I wanted to assist people in other ways. So I got my real estate license, and it was after the crash. It was 2013. My dad had merged his company with a bigger company. And, I didn't know what his reaction would be because obviously it was tough, right? He went from 75 agents to being the boss to back into production. And, he was still a leader and still had a few agents that came over with him to this brokerage that he had joined. And, I honestly didn't know what he was going to say. And he was like, oh, you're going to be great at it. Let's go. Like, no hesitation. And so I got into it, passed the test in my first, try. And then, ever since then, like my first year, I did 60,000 GCI. And then within that second year, I hit, six figures and um, have, elevated ever since, right? The year I came over to the Wolfpack, I sold 52 houses as a solo agent. I didn't even have a transaction coordinator until I came over to the Wolfpack. And so
Wow.
that was kind of the peak. And I said, I never want to do that again. And that's why we're here.
Very good. So I'm curious, what kind of teacher were you?
I actually taught at risk, 6th through 12th grade. So it was a hybrid where they had curriculum online and we were there for assistance. And then we did, pull offs where we would do lessons on history, math. Those were kind of my things. I like numbers more than words. That's why I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
But now I read books. So that's good. So yeah, I did that. And prior to that, actually, I got my college degree and jumped into corrections. So I actually ran a correctional facility as well. So the idea was to go from the halfway house, not living, but administering, um, and help the kind of problem. I have a degree in psychology, so help those people not make those decisions to get into the correctional, you know, I
Wow.
call it a tailspin, right? Like it's just so hard to get out. So that was my goal. I was going to save the world. I was going to do the thing. I have great, stories from that. Kids that should have never graduated. And then I got into coaching basketball, not at that school, but at other schools. And so that was feeding my soul
Mm,
while I was teaching. And then it just came a time where it was rough, right? I needed to start a family. I was making $26,000 a year, pouring my
mm,
heart and soul into these people. The kids were tough. They'd get pissed. Keep in mind, I ran a female halfway house and live in, so I was very keen on, drugs and, warning signs. And so some of my high schoolers didn't love that. But it was fine. It was great. One of the stories I'll tell you, and then we can kind of move on, is when I was teaching, I had two students come to me. One was 14, one was 17. The 14-year-old, actually, I'm still good friends with his parents. I was before he came to the school. And they said, hey, guess what? We're going to have a baby, and our parents don't know yet. And 14 and 17, right? And I said, well, you're going to need to get a job. Uh, you know, this is your background. You got kicked out of school for hacking into the educational system and changing people's grades you didn't even know. Happens to be a cybersecurity company right next door. How about you walk in there and see what you can do for him? He did that. He worked there for a long time. They had the kiddo. He graduated when he was 16. His girlfriend at the time graduated when she was 18 or 19. So they did it right, and they stayed together. Well, those same individuals purchased a house for me, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. With
wow.
four boys in tow, um, they fought the fight. They defied all the odds, and
Mhm.
having them move into a home, with my assistance was an incredible feeling. Like something that certainly home ownership was not, you know, on their radar at that point. And it was obviously years later. I think Tanner was, 12 or 13 years old when that happened. So it's 13 or 14 years later. But the fact that they did it and they got through that and obviously continue to grow their family was pretty incredible.
Wow, that's well, it's a true testimony of like how you serve people,
Hmm.
because to be, I think, a good realtor, you really have to love people and you have to
Hmm.
want to serve people because it could be very selfless, right? In doing
Yeah.
all the things that you have to do to be a successful realtor. And that's how actually I pulled at my heartstrings. How I ended up getting into probate is because
Mhm.
same like you, have a background in serving at risk youth,
Mhm.
juvenile detention, girls that have been incarcerated, and
Yep.
I was gonna get into that space, but I was like, what am I supposed to do? I'm only gonna make like $30,000. I can't
Mhm.
even
Right.
rent an apartment on this, So it's so unfortunate, right? That some of these are, help the best jobs, but they just don't pay, But
Yeah.
thank
And
you for
it's
sharing that. Wow.
yeah, it's hard, man, and that's the thing. Like, especially in the probate, like you're gonna have some of those people that,
Mm,
those were the only people that cared for that, individual that's incarcerated, that's messing up, the bad kid, and some of those grandparents or whatever. And so what happens when that happens? And, to come in at a time like that and kind of let the dust settle, I admire you for doing that as well.
yeah, thank you. I always say it was like God gave me a ministry and a way to make money at the same damn time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and that's what it is, and there's a lot of people in this industry that just need the deals, and I don't blame them. Like I understand having to put food on your family's table and those kind of things, but the moment that you can become relational over transactional is
mhm.
100% the moment when you know that you've made it and that you will never have to leave the career if you don't want to.
Yeah, that leads us right into your, philosophy of, a relationship-based business,
Mhm.
building those relationships, getting referral after referral. I mean, you always hear that in real estate, they always tell you start with your sphere of influence, but what does that really look like to have never prospected, to have never done that and literally just got all your deals from is it just you being like the best friend on planet Earth, or is there a strategy to this?
Yep, fun. There is a strategy to it, but there wasn't at first. It was just to show up and serve, and you know, never say no. Right, that which is a problem. Don't do that.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think when you really step back and you look at how the top agents, especially in our crew, the Wolf Pack, like I left my brokerage in April, and I was in the top 20 in production for those 4 months at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Right? So and there was 1,500 agents there. So there's a lot of agents in this business. There's not a lot of agents who produce. And so when you can take it and just show up and provide value, right? That's the biggest thing. And it's not, I'm Buffini trained, so I'm never too busy for your referrals, kind of resonates in my head. I don't think I've actually ever said it on a serious note, like maybe joking, which is probably the reason I'm not Brian Buffini right now. But the whole basis of the Buffini coaching program is, just to stay top of mind, to show up in people's lives, quick pop buys in and out. Here you go, thinking about you, and build those referrals, right? Understand and teach and coach those people that are going to be your biggest, cheerleaders, that are going to shout your names from the rooftop. So with that, I was like, okay, like I can do this. I grew up in Lakewood, Colorado. I went to Fort Collins, Colorado for college for 4 years. I moved right back to Arvada. They're all Denver metro, besides Fort Collins is an hour north. And so I still to this day serve both of those markets because I have, little breadcrumbs of people that have been in my life. And so, I was born into the real estate game with the luxury of having Facebook the first or second year it came out. I was a
Mhm.
freshman in college, so I had all my high school friends on there. Like you had to have a college email address, when I got onto Facebook. I had all my high school friends on there. Then I had my college, and then built it up as we went. Recently, it got hacked and deleted, so I had to start all over. But that's okay.
Uh,
Luckily, I was far established by that point. But I would just reach out to people and say, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Kind of from a how can I serve you perspective. But I typically would ask, what are you doing for work these days? And I had the drive to build a vendor list, right?
mm,
I needed some electricians, I needed some roofers, I needed some contractors, and who better to build this business with than people that you already knew.
Mm.
And, you know, I didn't know it then, but by nature, they would ask me what I did. And then I was able to tell them. And then, that would eventually lead to, hey, call Jeremy. He's doing this these days or whatever. And in our high school group, uh, is really tight knit. I mean, I had friends in my wedding from kindergarten, first grade, second grade. It's wild. And we've had some things go on in our high school group. One of my best friends had a kiddo that was born with a rare disorder, and they had a golf tournament for him for gosh, 10 years, right? And that was like our high school reunion, to the point where we didn't even need to have a high school reunion because we would all just connect there, right?
Wow.
And through sponsorships and things like that. But it was a great big family, and still is, right? And so it's just a little bit different how it was built. And so the ability to help other people build those businesses, and as I saw it, the more people I started to refer others to,
Mm.
instead of asking them for referrals, they just gave them to me, right?
Interesting.
And so that was my key to success, is if I can connect people to each other and solve a problem that they're having, no matter what it is. They have whack hair and they need to get a haircut. If I can connect them with the local, salon person, or, they're new to Colorado and they don't know what green chili is, like, I can send them to the local Mexican restaurant where they can, get information on that, right? So if I can just connect as many people as possible, I'm, you know, having conversations, I'm reaching out, I'm being a resource, and it all comes back to you full speed. And so that was kind of the aha moment, and really what's changed,
Hmm.
my career as we go. Because now I have the small business owners who are referring me, who are entrepreneurs who get it. And I also have my past clients who have a good experience, who are like, anytime I need anything, I call Jeremy. you know? And so that's kind of how I built it. And to put a system to that, that's kind of what I just went through.
So, do you ever hear other agents when you talk about the way that you built your business that they actually feel awkward being like, I'm a cold caller, right? I've been a cold caller
Mhm.
my whole life. And so a lot of like cold calling people, they'll say, I'd rather make 1,000 cold calls than to have those like warm and fuzzy calls, I don't know. Have you ever heard that?
A little bit, but I would say that out of all the traditional lead generation platforms, cold calling and how I did it are the most similar,
Is
right?
it
Because
really?
if you're going out and you're calling someone, you're going to try and grab, right,
Right.
an opportunity to make a connection.
Mm.
Yes, you want it to be, hey, yeah, we're ready to sell. But you also know, if it's like, hey, the house is a disaster and we need an estate sale, if you can connect them to the person that they're going to choose, the likelihood of them calling you when it's your turn is higher. So you're
Mhm.
still just searching for that intro,
Right.
right? You're searching for that opportunity to connect someone. So it's it's very different. And I mean, I guess that's how I would operate open houses too. It's a little different. But if someone's talking about, oh, the lawn looks great, oh, let me connect you to the lawn guy that does their lawn, right? The
Mm.
more people that you can connect and the more problems you can solve, the more it's going to come back to you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. It's I really love that. And it seems so natural, just, it's you just like you said, you're just out there doing your thing. Are you doing it from a like a numbers perspective? Like I'm reaching out to, X many people a week or
Yeah, I do not. But
yeah,
again, I'm blessed with being from here. I'm 41 years old. I've lived,
grow
within
people.
15 miles of my house for 30, 7 of the 41 years I've lived. And so I know a lot of people and I'm connected. When I'm
Mm,
coaching agents how to do this, a lot of times they'll say, like, hey, Jeremy, like, I'm not from here. I don't know people. And
mm,
that's where those KPIs come in, right?
mm,
I need you to, have 10 interactions with other people. right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 10 in person and 10 not. People are like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, well, okay. Do you have another job that you're working while you get your real estate business going? The answer is sometimes, typically, yes, right? Those are all interactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that you can't go to your 9 to 5 and be like, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Let me know. Call me, right? They don't love that. But if you're talking to someone at lunch and they're saying, hey, we need a new roof, we got hit by that hail, and you make that connection, it leads to that. And then all of a sudden, when anything needs and anybody needs anything based on a home, they're going to come to you, and you kind of work it that way. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I think that's kind of the way it
Yeah, I
operates.
always I've always believed in the philosophy that there's three ways to be successful in real estate. And one is connections, like if you're
Mm-hmm.
connected with your church, connected with your community,
Yep.
connected with the horse community, if you're a golfer,
Yep.
if you're in sports, right? Like you've got some type of connection.
Yeah.
Or if you were like a celebrity's child, you know what I mean? You gotta just become a real estate agent, right?
Yeah.
Like because of your friends and your acquaintances. And the second way is pay your way through, right? So advertising, marketing,
Yep.
running ads, bus benches, the whole game, right? And the third
Mm-hmm.
way is hustle. And that's where, a lot of us, that's where I found my space, through cold calling, door knocking, all the things, not everybody, most people don't have money to start when they're starting. And a lot of people don't have the Jeremy life
Mm-hmm.
of living in
Yeah.
the same town.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it all
so
depends on your speed and your situation, how quickly you want to do it, right? If somebody comes to me and they say, "Hey, I need to sell, 10 houses by December and we're sitting in August."
mhm,
Like, I'm like, "Well, you better hit up some Carolyn Castillo probate lives on Instagram because you're going to have to get rolling quick, right? You need people that are ready to transact. I know probate's not exactly the fastest, but you get the point.
it
And
takes
so
time to build that
yeah,
referral, right? That
right.
that relationship type style, right?
Right. And then you build that sphere, right? And then you become known. A lot
Mm-hmm,
of people think their sphere is like people that are going to transact.
mm-hmm,
Your sphere is not people that are going to particularly transact, but it's the people that know what you do and how you serve people,
mm-hmm,
right? So in the probate world, it could be the attorneys,
mm-hmm,
right? There's obviously a massive opportunity to connect with attorneys and be their go-to.
mm-hmm.
It could be,
Exactly.
with people that run estate sales. It could be with, house
Engineer,
cleaners. It could be with home health care people. It could be with a myriad of people. And no matter if you're cold calling and you're going direct to consumer, your business will grow and explode once you show up for the right attorney,
right?
right? You're working with an attorney and they're like, whoa, I've never worked with somebody that kind of understands the probate processes as well as you do. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
a fan for life. And those people probably get that call before you do
Absolutely. You're
on
hundred
that front.
percent right in that, Jeremy. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I've never went that route before when I was in traditional. And then as I got into probate, you're 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
People always ask me, how do you approach probate attorneys, right? You don't just call a probate attorney and say, hey, I do probates, and then they're just gonna magically send you all of their deals, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing of what you're saying. Your friends and your family, they're not going to just, all of a sudden just be buying all these houses,
Yeah.
but over as you're building that relationship, how long would you say that it takes to effectively build out, that relationship where people really just feel comfortable to send you referrals and to, recommend you to people? And
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Is there a magic?
I think the magic word is as long as it takes. Right.
There
And
you go, Jeremy.
the truth is you said the three ways to build your business. I would say before those three ways, there's three other ways. It's work hard, and work hard. Right? You have to have a system, you have to be organized, and you have to work. So
Right.
building that relationship could be as easy as, you know, taking them out to lunch, right? Attorneys are very busy, so that's not necessarily something. It's maybe it's Popeyes by their office, maybe it's the relentless pursuit of, talking to their, secretary about what you can do to help and getting in there. The easiest way for people to trust you is for you to show up and serve them first. If you're
Mm,
calling someone and you're like, hey, you know, I mean, look at this from like a gala perspective, right? If you're calling
mhm,
someone and being like, hey, can you send me referrals? Can you send me referrals? Can you send me referrals? No, right? Hey, is there anything I can do to help? Do you guys have any events I can sponsor? Can I do a little class for, a real estate's perspective of probate for your newbie attorneys or whatever, right? If you're
mhm.
leading with something of value and you're relentless in your pursuit, don't be annoying, but you got to find the right people to talk to because you probably know that maybe it's a paralegal, maybe it's somebody that works in the office. If you get them, the whole office follows,
Mhm.
right? If they
Yes.
know that if they have a question, they can pick up the phone and call Carolyn instead of their, head attorney,
Mhm.
that's a huge advantage to them.
Yes.
Right? And so you got to find those people and you have to just be relentless and what can I do? How can I serve you? Those kind of things and it'll pay the world. Sometimes without expectation, right? I
Right.
mean, you call on attorneys how many times? Like what's the
Mhm.
most time? Sometimes it happens overnight. The person's there, you connect with them right away.
Oh
They're
wow,
like,
I
"You're
actually
in?"
have a case right now. Here you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or, some of the big dogs are going to be a little bit longer to to transition, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, "Well, I'm calling this guy or, I'm going to leave it up to my whatever it is." Like it's just
And
that
the
difference that you really have to.
the beautiful part about, what you've, theory on it all is that, that one attorney or that one person in your sphere of influence can send you multiple deals, right?
Right.
So if you're just working off of Zillow leads or I make the cold call and I work with that one family, it's kind of one and done,
Hmm.
like let's be honest, how often are people buying houses, like
Hmm.
in somebody's lifetime now. When I was in South Florida, people were always trying to keep up with the Joneses. So they
Yep.
were moving every 5 to 7 years, but
Yep.
on average, people are only buying, one or two houses a lifetime, right?
Hmm.
But working it more through that referral system, they can send you, 10 deals a year, like
Yep.
they're just sending you customers
Yep.
constantly.
And
So it's
and in
pretty
my
cool.
course I talk a lot about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going into a church and you're going to church to get deals, first of all, you got a lot of other things to work on first. But if you're going to be there, let's leverage that. But instead of, going around, during tithing time and asking people if they want to buy or sell real estate, uh, what I would suggest is pay attention, be present, watch who everybody is talking to, right? The person that introduces everybody, the person that shakes everybody's hand, the person that's the connector. It might be an usher, it could be the youth pastor, it could be, the wife of the pastor, it could be a lot of different people. But if you're just observant of who it is, and then you just
Mm-hmm.
go all in on that relationship, take them to lunch. How can I help you with, what you do for the church? You'll eventually get to the person that's going to take every single new family into their house and invite them in for dinner and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can just build that relationship with that one person. When real estate comes up, they're going to walk them right over to you and introduce them, put them on your plate, and you're, good to
That's
go.
sweet. You're a
Right.
boss, Jeremy.
Yeah. And then you're not going to sit there and be like, ruining everybody else's, church time by trying to grow your business.
Yeah, yeah, that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how you use the church analogy. I actually have a girl in my group right now, and the church is looking to her for guidance or have her on like a board as being like an advisor. And she's literally just helping them, serving them through the process, not, asking for any sales. She's
Mm-hmm.
not making any commission or anything in this
Right.
process because they're planning on selling the church. And because of that, now everybody's looking at her as like an authority, and now people are just coming to her, So, like you said, it's just that without asking for it, and it just, comes to you, when you have the
Right.
right heart.
And that's a huge piece, right? Maybe the church sale is going to happen, but it's a commercial sale. It's going to take longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, while she's serving, while she's building those connections, while she's doing the volunteer work,
Mm-hmm.
like she's gonna she's going to get a few deals out of it just by being there and serving.
Yeah, by the association.
Hmm.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So
Yeah.
tell me now, because I was checking out your YouTube channel and I see you talking a lot about your passion for helping others build wealth through real estate. Where
Hmm.
did that start for you? And um, I see it in your own family, I think in your own life, and then you're also advocating it for your clients. So share with us
Yeah.
a bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it started something very similar, right? I needed a lending partner, and there was a lender who, I had been buddies with, and he was like, "Hey, I'm working for this new, lender. She's the number one lender in Colorado. Like, come to these, Agent Ignite." She called him. Nicole Ruth's her name. She's actually a client of mine now. So that's pretty cool. But um, she just talked about it. She had this thing called building an investment empire. My wife and I met with her. We had two long-term rentals. Within 13 months, we had sold one of them and had the one long-term rental we had, two duplexes, as well as a short-term rental in Grand Lake 13 months later.
Wow.
Right. And yes, the interest rates were very much in our favor at that time. But um, the ability to really break it down. And my dad helped me buy my first house when I was 19. We actually tried to sell it for what we bought it for. When I graduated college, it didn't work out. The market wasn't humming along exactly. And the fact that we took that off the market and made it a rental changed my entire life, right?
Mm,
Like I was able to keep that home. That was actually the one we sold to buy a duplex with a 1031 exchange. We had already done a cash out refinance and bought the single family that we had. So everything kind of started from that. And so what Nicole was saying was really resonating with me. She had bought her first house when she was 40 and had 27 some odd doors at the time. And so she was really passionate about this building wealth through real estate. And
mm,
so the fact that she had done it, that I had done it, I'm like, okay, this is a true wealth tool, right? We don't talk about it being a wealth tool as much. But when I
mhm,
can say, hey, I have, six rental doors that cash flow $6,000 a month that I put $0 of my own earned money into, right? I just used leverage, got lucky, bought at the right time, was in the right place at the right time. But the fact that that happened like changed my entire like trajectory,
mm.
my family's trajectory, everything, right?
You-
$6,000 is more than probably my mom and stepdad and my dad and stepmom combined in their households made as I was growing up. So that's very different when you really step back and think about it. So the fact that I'd done it, but also that I believe so deeply in it. And it didn't hurt that we were in a record appreciation market from 2019 to 2024. But um, here we are now, and it's just like that's what I want to do. I want to help people, and I don't push people into it. I don't say you have to be an investor, right?
mm,
I often walk into my client's house and say, hey, is there any chance you want to keep this house, because I don't think you should sell it, right?
mhm,
I walk into listing appointments and say that.
mhm.
Okay, and people would be like, well, that's kind of silly, or take money out of your own pocket. It's not what it's about,
Right.
right? It's about holding that. And, these people in particular, I just actually introduced this lender to these people that I'm talking about today. Not introduced them, but I brought them together because I did walk into their house and say, I don't think you should sell this, because I know you have a little one now and that street's a little bit busy, but I know in 15 years you're going to call me and you're going to want this exact house, and it's going to be $2 million instead of 850,000. So if we don't have to sell that 2.2 interest rate, is there anything else we can get creative with so that you can hold on to this? Right? Can we leverage it maybe a little more and have someone else pay that rent and still be safe? Right? We're
Mm,
going to dive into that because I think that I don't want that call. I don't
mhm,
want to be the one that's like, well, I don't think you can get into that now because that home's appreciated and,
mhm,
beyond, what you're willing to do. When right
mhm,
now they have a great payment and all that. So that's kind of where it started. And then I started helping people kind of understand that opportunity. If you don't have to sell, don't sell, you know, hold that as a rental. These are your options. You don't have to manage it, but this is what it's done for me and my family. And when you have that success, people kind of start to listen and they'll be like, okay. Sometimes they sell. Sometimes they're like, Jeremy, I don't want anything to do with this town. I don't
Yeah.
want to be a landlord. I'm like, great, let's go. Let's dump it
Right.
all into your next home, manage that monthly payment. But when you're putting these big assets as far as, cashing them out and putting them right back into another non-liquid, situation, sometimes we're in trouble with that,
Right.
and so that's where it came from. Obviously, my position at EXP now allows me to not only have more impact on clients across the globe, right? Because I have 200 agents in 36 states and 4 countries, right? I'm able to teach them exactly how I built my business and how to have impact on other people's wealth journeys. But also there's obviously the multiple ways to earn revenue and income at our brokerage. And if
Mhm.
growing a downline is something that's important to you, and again, I've done it, right? So I can say, hey, I got 200 agents and, I make between $7,500 and $10,000 a month. Don't touch a piece of paper. I just coach agents, love on agents, teach them what I want to teach them, don't have liability. Like, that's incredible, especially coming from a son of a managing broker of 25 years, right? And so that's kind of where that comes from. And now I say I'm helping everybody build wealth through real estate, whether it's real estate agents, their clients, my clients, or my family. It's just kind of
That's
been that
incredible.
trajectory.
Yeah, that's so incredible. And I've heard a lot of people in EXP talk about how it took them so long to save up the money as an agent to then even buy investment properties.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they bought the investment properties, like how much they're actually getting monthly versus doing revenue share, bringing agents into the opportunity, not owning anything.
Right.
And they're
Yeah,
making
and I mean
more
our
money.
yeah, Connor Steinbrook in our group, Mike Sherrod's sponsor, always says he's a big time real estate investor. He's like, but I never seen a house walk down a street and recruit another house into my portfolio.
That's
So the duplication piece of this model is incredible. And, again, just developing more and more income streams where it's because the nice part about rentals is, it could be mailbox money, but
hmm
you also have problems. Right
hmm
now, if you're cash flowing at all, you're great,
hmm
right? Unless you're walking into a great opportunity or have some money to invest or whatever.
hmm
Sometimes a great rental is cash flowing $200 a month,
Right.
right? And
That's the hard
what's
part. Yeah, that's the
right.
hard part about investing for most people,
Mhm.
is they want to do it, but then it's literally you're taking the money, you're putting it away, and you're not
Mhm.
really getting a return. And people don't realize that, when they're first getting into it, of how it takes over years that, it goes
Mhm.
up, up, up. And now with the properties being so, because you're in Colorado, are you experiencing also like a really inflated housing market where you are?
Yeah. I mean, we're still, staying pretty flat as far as appreciation, but there
Yeah.
was, 15, 19%, years of increase, which was wild during, the
hmm
glory years. So
That's
that's
what
we're
just happened in Florida. Yeah, is
mhm.
from like 2021 to 2025, it was like a 50% increase
Yeah.
in value. Yeah.
Yep, over those 4 years. And
Yeah.
is that sustainable? Is it affordable? And, both of our states really struggle with property insurance.
hmm
We have hail and fires. You have, other things that have
Hurricanes.
happened recently. So I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And I would still stand by real estate as an absolutely great investment.
hmm
But for some real estate agents, the diversity of, having that rev share, I love it because I love coaching and helping and teaching, and I'm
hmm
able to coach and help and teach and not, do broker hotline or litigation or have to deal with any of the overhead or anything that, a traditional managing broker would have to do.
Yeah, and it's so cool because you started off, as a teacher, right? That was where
Mm-hmm.
you started with, helping, I always thought I was gonna be like working in like the homeless shelters, like being
Mm-hmm.
like I envisioned myself always being like in ministry, like, and I
Yep.
was fine with it. I just have that, that's what brings me
Mm-hmm.
joy, is helping maybe people that are, unfortunate. And now when I've been coaching and training agents, it's like really has brought me so much joy, and God has like showed that to me that it's not just the poor, the kids and the homeless and this. Yes, they need help, but people on this level need help too,
Yeah.
and the fact that he's been able to provide me,
Mhm.
experiences in life that you can then share with others and help others break through, help others find success, is
Right.
it's extremely rewarding,
Yeah.
and I'm excited. I'm just getting started in revenue share, and I'm really excited about it because, just the philosophy of, how you can partner with someone like yourself and learn how to do investing, learn how to build out your real estate business, learn how to attract agents like yourself, and it's totally for free, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. And that's the cool part is a
that's
lot
the
of
cool
agents get
part.
into it and they don't understand that it's going to be 5 grand a year carrying costs to keep their board dues and keep their, tools and, all the things that we need, right, to run our business. And sometimes people have that 5,000 and it's sunk in the first year, or, first month, depending on how
Mhm,
your state's set up. And we don't have any money to dump a ton of money into leads and learn how to work those and do
mhm,
those things, right? So how do we build it all organically? Well, I built a
mhm,
rental portfolio completely organic. I've built my production business completely organic, and I've built now revenue share pretty much organic. And that's the beauty of it. If you don't have the money to spend, you still have to get out there, and there's still things you can do
mhm,
to grow a real estate business. So, you know, the beauty of co-sponsorship and EXP is, if you're looking at, an opportunity, maybe you're like, okay, I know I can do this. I know a lot of people, but I need to, earn a paycheck. Well, the power of, having your probate training mixed with,
mhm.
that's a little bit quicker. Usually probate and quick don't usually go together, but those people do have to sell homes depending on their right, depending on who you're targeting. So that might get you a few deals, get you 5 to 10 deals in your first year, with your wonderful training. And then while you're doing that, we can build up this sphere, we can build up this client journey, this experience. And again, it's completely free, right?
Right.
For some of this coaching and some of the training that we've paid for that we're just giving to you for absolutely free, bolt on, the number one social media training and all the other things that the Wolfpack offers, the collaboration across the country, across the globe. Like it's almost a no brainer for somebody that, has that drive. But I
That
will
one.
tell you, Carolyn and I both work extremely hard. So that's something that, doesn't cost anything, but you got to have.
Right, right. And that's what I've paid so much money for coaches over my lifetime, and
Mm-hmm.
I never forget when I met Mike Shard, and then he's like, yeah, all this, and I'll just, you come into my program for free. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, what's the catch, And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even really he told me about EXP. For me, the most important thing was that I got paid at closing table. Because
Mm-hmm.
all these brokerages, throughout my whole time doing real estate, you got your closing, then you had to bring it to the office, then you had to do this, and you'd be like a couple days after your closing before you'd actually get paid. And I love that about EXP is that when my sellers are getting paid, I'm getting paid, and everybody's celebrating at the same time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I really joined because of Mike. I joined because
Yep.
of his opportunity. I joined because at that time I was a secret agent and I had no YouTube, no Instagram, no nothing, and I literally joined because of what he offered, and
Yep.
now to be sitting here today and being able to offer the world something that I can offer the world, and I'm sure you feel the same, I don't know what your journey was when you signed up with the Wolf Pack,
Mm-hmm.
did you sign up because of EXP, or were you in recruited by Mike Sherrard, or how did you get there?
Um, Well, I actually happen to have a cousin who was at the company for a long time and had sent my dad and I some messages. Hey, check this out. 80-20 split, $16,000 cap. And so I knew of it. And it was during COVID and I was on a phone call or a Zoom call. and Mike was the guy that they were talking about social media, and like it
Mm-hmm.
was back in like everybody should get a PPP loan, right? That's in real
Yeah,
estate. So they had somebody
I
talking about
remember
that.
that.
I mean, it was like day one COVID, right? And Mike's on there and he's talking about this and he's offering free audits. And I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, you know, but I started following him. And so when you start following Mike, you never lose sight of him due to
Yeah.
some of his ad spin and also some of his really quality content.
Mm-hmm.
But I started doing that. And then one day then I started seeing my sponsor, Louis Galt, show up and he was using the same ad copy I was, like word for word. I was like, okay, right, this Mike guy, right? And so then all of a sudden, the next thing I saw was a video with him and Mike side by side on a YouTube, their first YouTube video together when Louis had joined. And so finally I reached out to Louis. I was like, hey, dude, we're doing a lot of the same things. Like, would love to grab lunch with you, trade war stories, whatever, which is funny because I use that now when I'm talking rev share to agents. But we went to lunch and he heard that I was at my dad's brokerage and, didn't really pursue much of it. Well, 4 or 5 months later, I had, my wife was like, EXP's a thing. I'd been on one of Mike's explain calls. I was like, I would be so good at this. Like, I can do this, right? My business is sustainable. I'm not paying a ton of money for leads. My phone's ringing. Like, I can guarantee that I'm going to be an icon agent. I'm a 4-time icon agent, been here for 4 years, and I can build this, right? And I'll have an exit strategy and at the time I was a high school basketball coach. I was like, I really want to be present for my kids' high school athletics piece. Like, I don't want to be showing houses at 6 o'clock or whatever. And so, I knew it was going to happen, but then I was just like, you know what? Like, it's time. I talked to my dad. He was like, you've always made the right decision in your business. Like, I'm not here to stand in your way. He was the managing broker. I asked the employing broker, hey, I want to get into some recruiting and training and so on. It's kind of a trick question because I knew he would say no because he had this old guy who was teaching old school methods. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go try this. And so I called Louis up. It's like, hey, dude, I'm going to come over. I'd love to, name you my sponsor. I'd love to build out under you. I'd love to build Colorado out together. He was like, let's go. He's like, what happened to your dad? So the rest is history. Like, Mike was the original attractant, but obviously Louis being local, me putting it together, me seeing the power of the partnerships and the 7-tier model,
Mm-hmm.
um, just was a no brainer. So
No
it's
brainer.
been pedal to the
Magical.
metal ever since.
Yes, excellent. Very, very good. So we all got here and we're all still here. So you've been here about 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years was July 1st. So
Okay, me too.
we're yep,
Right about the same
yep,
timeline. Yeah. So and how blessed are we that we got into, such a good group, because
yep,
not everybody gets that experience.
yeah. I mean, I was like, this guy's good at social media. Louis here in Denver will be cool. We'll build it out. But like that first EXPCon experience, the calls, the weekly calls that we have, all the value that's there, like, yeah, I might not get a ton of things out of the calls because I've been in for 12 years. I've heard a lot of it. Sure, little ideas here and there, but the collaboration was insane. Right,
Mm,
all of a sudden I was in the same room as a top producer with people that were doing way more than me, right?
mhm,
$100 million teams. I just
mhm,
interviewed Shane Carvalho from my YouTube channel, like
mhm.
$50 million producer year in, year out. That dude closed $10.2 million in June last year, right? And everybody's just like, this is what we're doing. Like, we're having fun. Everybody's happy. There's no secret sauce. Everybody's sharing everything. I was like, what world am I in? Because that's
Yeah.
not the traditional real estate world. Real estate
Yes.
is a very secretive, secret sauce kind of society. And
Hmm.
even best friends don't share the secrets. And the
Hmm.
secrets, there is no secret. It's work
Right.
hard, work hard, work hard,
Yeah.
serve people.
Exactly.
That's it. So yeah, super
Amazing.
blessed and something that I didn't even, think of. I still haven't been through the entire Social Agent Academy, and that's
Yeah.
what I joined for. And you hit on it, right? People join for 100 different reasons, and you
Mm,
just have to, as an attractor, you just have to hear what they say. You have to listen first, and you know, tailor the model. Partner them with people that matter,
mhm,
right? If we have somebody that needs a quick sale, boom, like let's connect you with Carolyn. I can sponsor, she can co-sponsor, vice versa, whatever works best for you. You make the choice. And then
Mm.
we're going to build this up, right? You can get quick hitter deals with her. We can build an entire sphere, kind of a long-term form game here, and we'll be good to go.
Teamwork makes the dream work,
Yep,
Jeremy.
for sure.
Any final notes? You've dropped so much value on this. I personally have gotten a lot out of this. Thank you for giving us your time. Any final words for real estate agents right now in the last quarter of 2025?
Yeah. And I'm going to go to this, right? This is what I've been saying on stages. This is what I've been saying to people recently is we are in a market that no one has ever been in, right? And you say, well, Jeremy, we've had, receding markets. We've had this, but let me tell you, probably 80 to 85% of the agents in my market are new over the last 5 years. Carolyn, for your market, how much would you say in the last 5 years, what percentage of agents are new versus were in the market 5+ years ago?
I mean, this is Florida, so every other person in Florida is a realtor. So
Okay. But even still, right? So
there's a
five
lot of,
years,
yes, because
right,
everybody's on a rainbow ride real
right,
estate market. So there's a
right.
lot of new agents.
A lot of
Yes.
people got in. Okay.
Yeah.
So say it's 25%.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we go back. How many have been in 10+ years? The
Mm,
number dwindles, right?
mm,
Okay. Well, the last time we were in a market like this nationwide was probably 08, 09. That was
mm,
16 years, 17 years ago. So how
mm.
many are still there from then?
Right.
So when we look at a market that's changing, that's shifting, where all of a sudden we're having to talk about price reductions and, hold listings for longer than 7 days on market, like, what do we do? Well, here's the deal. That listing sitting for more than 7 days, every single minute it hits longer than 7 days is an opportunity for you to market it, for you to make your sellers happy, and for you to build your brand, right?
Yeah.
And so then you're there and you do that, you collect the data, and you can have educated conversations. Then we get to the conversations. Most 80 to 85% of agents in my market have never had to have a price reduction conversation,
Mm.
a real one,
Wow.
right? Where they came in, they got the price they needed to list it at, and it just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you factor that in, and 95% of agents, 5% of agents have had a conversation similar to this in a similar market about price reductions. And those 5% 16 years ago did not have access to the technology that we have. Information did not travel as quickly, didn't have AI to kind of make ideas and outlines and do all those things. So when you really step back and think about it, the playing field is level. If
Mm.
you've never had if you're brand new and you're listing agent and you're freaked out because you're going up against all these people, none of those people have had the conversation in this market with the tech tools that you're about to have. So
Wow.
your creativity could absolutely push you over the top and land you that first listing or that next listing. And so my thoughts to you is I'm not the agent that's like, oh great, the market's shifting. All those crappy agents are going to get out, right? I want to bring them all in. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's go, let's partner, let's salvage your career in this amazing industry, and let's absolutely crush it because the playing field is level.
That's amazing. Great insight. Thank you for the positive end note. And
Yeah,
thank you, Jeremy, so much. I appreciate you being on the call. And
yeah.
you guys on the next one.